Hey everybody, this is Stu Smith and Jeff Nichols. We are here doing the Tactical Fitness Report. This time is part 2 of our series, Getting Through the Training. So if you missed the first one, check it out on both of our YouTube channels. We did one on getting to the training, which we both agree that, to get to the training, you got to master this fitness test. And that's for any tactical profession, right?
Great.
Right. So this one is getting through the training. And we'll kind of focus more on buds, but, this really applies to all types of training programs that you're doing. You need to get specific with what you know to be your future training and have goals of how you're going to prepare yourself for that future training. So, Jeff, we'll get it started right off the bat. I always like to answer every question with your favorite answer, right? How do you prepare to get through buds?
It depends.
All right.
It depends on a lot of things.
Depends on a lot of things.
And I think that we all should have that approach when, asking someone those questions, even if it's outside the tactical realm or training realm, but understand that everyone is very individualized, but there's a lot of commonalities. So we'll vector in on some of those. It depends today.
Yeah, absolutely. So it depends. So let's start off with this. If I were to see someone who comes in, wants to be a SEAL, first we assess and see where their weaknesses are. And a lot of that can be done by just answering 10 questions. I just say 10, but it might be 3. What have you been doing for the last 5 years? Are you an athlete? What type of athlete? Strength athlete, endurance athlete, swimming athlete, running athlete, other? Weaknesses, what type of injuries have you had over the last few years? What are you trying to rehab from? Those type of things. So let's kind of make a laundry list of some of these terms. So let's talk about the fitness foundations that are out there and what weaknesses are associated with each of them.
Sounds good.
All right. So let's start off with your typical guy that wants to go to buds. It's so-called a running man's game, and this guy's a runner. That's his foundation. So how do we prepare a runner for buds, and what are typical weaknesses runners have?
Right. Well, I think you and I are definitely on the same page on this. We just really want people to understand that, hear what we're saying, and we're not pigeonholing people into saying that they have a deficiency that can't be corrected. That's the biggest thing.
Oh, absolutely.
They're all correctable sort of things. So we'll create this stereotypical runner, right? 17, 18 years old, 150 pounds, right? Can run really well over great distances. They typically have pretty decent sit-up numbers.
Yeah.
Good strength endurance in their hip flexors and their abdominal area. A little bit lacking in pull-ups, upper body strength, and push-ups are deficient. And let's say, again, probably stereotypically, they're just inefficient in the water, right?
Yes.
They have the cardiovascular capability. They're just, it becomes too much of a strength exercise, swimming, than something that's efficient. And we could turn the tables on a swimmer too, but
absolutely.
So, and then you're right, asking some questions, see what they've been doing. And a lot of times people have been doing the same thing over and over and hoping for an improvement. Like I keep running and my split times aren't improving and my strength isn't. When we start identifying deficiencies, we need to target them, just like you're saying. We have to be specific. If we need to throttle him back a little bit on his running distance to improve on his upper body strength, then we need to do that.
Yes.
Because a lot of times we're going to favor the running because that's what they're good at. We don't want to eliminate the running entirely. That's not at all what I believe in.
Yeah.
Because that's what they enjoy doing. They're comfortable doing. So keep doing that. Throttle them back, and we need to increase the volume on that upper body strength. So that for me as a runner, that's how the typical shift for me happens for my athletes.
Yeah, I agree completely. We have a lot of cross-country kids that come in, and the things they love to do. They love to do 10Ks and half marathons and marathons. That's what they do. But I tell you what, their transition from running and kind of weak upper body is really remarkable with all the different varieties of, body types that are out there. Cause I've seen guys that beat us on one day in the run, just crush us. Right. And we just can't keep up with them. He's just killing us.
Yep.
The next day we do sprints and intervals, and we're doing pull-ups and push-ups and sit-ups, underneath the pull-up bar and burpees and throwing all that stuff in there, and then mixing in quarter-mile runs or maybe 200-meter runs. And they start hitting the wall, because upper body-wise, we're just crushing them under the pull-up bar.
Right.
And then 2, they're burning all their energy. So now the guys that couldn't beat them yesterday are now beating them today in the quarter-mile runs and the 200-meter runs and things like that. So, however, they do transition relatively quickly into a very good hybrid athlete, so to speak. And they can, because they're so light, for the heavier guy, a guy that needs to lose 40 pounds, that's a hard sell to get really good at pull-ups fast. But the light guys can get good at pull-ups really fast. And within about 2 to 3 month period, a 12-week cycle, I've seen runners now starting to crush everybody under the pull-up bar.
Yeah.
So
would you tend to agree that, let's say that stereotypical runner, like you're kind of saying, it's if you get 2 guys, one's a stereotypical runner, one is we'll call it like the strength and power athlete, like the bodybuilder type. I think it's a bit easier for that transition for the runner than it is the strength athlete to overcome some of those deficiencies, because mass is easier to overcome when it starts out a little bit lighter.
Yes.
And when you come in at like 240, 250 or even heavier, you just can't snap your fingers. I mean, not that you can snap your fingers and get stronger all of a sudden, but that neurological adaptation is a little bit easier, I believe, because they're not overcoming this mass that they just can't overcome.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree 100%. And like I said, it's physics. Their mass is lighter, and they're able to maneuver the calisthenic world a lot easier. And now the strength guy, now the one thing that I will say, let's keep it on the runner. They are lacking a foundation of strength.
Yes.
So that might get them 2 buds. This little 12-week cycle, get some good PT scores. Let's say they can swim average.
Mm-hmm.
However, they're not ready for buds at all. I would suggest another 12-week cycle of them really throttling back the running and focusing on the strength training.
Agreed.
Because, deadlifts, squats, hang cleans, put things on your shoulder and walk up and down stairs with it. I mean, just kind of simulate your body carrying objects that are heavy.
For sure. Yeah. I totally agree. I think that, again, if we're talking about one of the 2 big things that stand out for me, or 3 things that stand out for me, and I kind of wrap 2 together, like the boat on the head or over your head, log PT, and the O course. Okay, certainly you're getting a lot of guys that, due to stress and size, or just honestly not, they may pass their screen. You see it more from the guys that coming from the fleet, I think, coming to buds. Maybe they did PST months prior. They showed a Coronado. They're not in the best of shape, and the run just kicks them in the butt.
Yeah.
And, for the guys that come in at 140, 150 pounds, and they get, that long day of activity, a lot of stress, and then a Wednesday comes and you have log PT, or you have the O course on a Tuesday after you've already done a 5-mile run and really just got the hell kicked out of you. Like, strength is a huge component. Like, that's, I think probably the O course is where you see it the most, like right away. Like the log PT and stuff, you tend to see it, but I think the O course, for someone to complete, I think like a good O course time, if memory recalls me, somewhere in the 7 to 8 minute mark.
Yeah.
Pretty quick from what I remember.
Yeah. Especially in first phase. You'll get better third, second, third phase. But yeah.
Because I remember there was a handful of us that did a sub 7, if I recall. And I was able to do that purely because of my strength. It suited me really well, because I wasn't a great 4-miler. I did my 29 minutes early on, and just kind of held on to that pace, but
Yeah.
I didn't. And again, I do my best, and I do a really pretty good job of it. Where the training being what it is, I don't have them train like me. I don't want them to train like me.
Right.
I'm able to look at their deficiencies and go, hey, here's what they are. This is what we need to work on.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So agree, 100%. Working on deficiency. So let's think of another. We can kind of parallel the swimmer to the same type. He's the endurance athlete. However, a lot of swimmers are not used to gravity.
Yes.
And gravity crushes them. You will see that in shin splints, stress fractures, knee tendonitis. I mean, with a very progressive, moderately progressive running program, they will have all those issues.
For sure. Agreed.
Typically.
Totally. Yep.
Typically.
Yep.
Typically.
Yeah, on the bell curve, for sure. The majority, yeah, I agree with that totally.
Yeah. So, getting them used to gravity is one of their big weaknesses.
Right.
So that may take time, and all of this, by the way, one of the first questions we ask is like, how long have you been training for BUD/S? And you get a wide variety of answers. I've been training all my life. I just started, and I've been training for about a year or two, so you get a wide variety of what those are. And sometimes you have to throttle back the guys that are saying I've been training all my life, because I mean, essentially we have.
Yeah, if you're an athlete, but agreed. We just want to make sure that they're not overlooking preparation.
Right. Specifically for BUD/S is what we're talking about.
Yes.
So you're like specifically training for BUD/S. So now, how about, let's see.
I just want to touch on that real quick. For a swimmer, what my recommendation typically ends up being is, you hit it right on. Like, a lot of times they throw themselves on the running, and it just beats up their knees, their hips, their ankles, and their shins. So that is somebody who comes in swim dominant, that weight training becomes very valuable. Now, we don't.
Oh, absolutely.
If we can start loading them, not heavy back squats, but we start getting them into like a split lunge with a barbell. Again, sandbag carries, get into lunges. We start loading that tibia and fibia. Then the runs, because we don't want to build the tolerance for a swimmer only in the run. It's too traumatic.
Yes.
They can produce a ton of force, but they have a hard time managing it.
Yes.
So weight training becomes a really good synergistic piece to begin managing a little bit heavier mass and then run. So for a swimmer, it really marries up well, some running and some weight training for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I would suggest typically with the swimmers, moderate progressive running program, very small mileage. I mean, mile and a half max,
Yep.
Interval stuff, and then really focus on your legs and in the weights, whether it's sandbags or kettlebells or, whatever you need to do to increase that strength base that you're going to need is critical for the swimmer. And you just got to get used to gravity. Period.
Yeah. We know that there's a ton of stress in the swimming pool, but we also know from a standpoint of physiology, if you want to increase bone density, you need to do compound closed chain movements. And closed chain means basically your feet or your body needs to be touching the ground, or a stable object.
Right.
We need to load the spine, load the hips, load the bones vertically to increase bone density. And again, not that swimmers don't have dense bones, because there's a lot of trauma, but they're not vertically loaded against gravity.
True. So that's been my experience with swimmers, and we get some great collegiate all-American swimmers, that come through here that are just, off the chart swimming. I love just to videotape them, just to show them, this is what swimming looks like.
Yes.
Because it doesn't look like anything that I do.
Right.
I mean, you don't need to be a world-class swimmer to go to BUD/S.
Yeah,
right?
we want to let their strengths be an advantage, though.
Yes.
We don't want their strengths to be so paramount that it actually becomes a deficit at BUD/S, because that's what happens. Runners are so run focused that they're don't doing well in water, typically, vice versa.
Yeah.
So we want a well-rounded athlete.
Yes. So now let's go to the guy like you and me. Football, powerlifting background in high school, rugby in college, still power lifted. And then I decided, hey, I want to try to do this SEAL thing. It took me about 2 years to make that transition,
Yep.
you know, because I really thought, you know, when I ran my 1.5-mile timed run, that was long distance. You know, that was a long distance run. I mean, I didn't go run 4-mile, 5-mile timed runs for fun.
Yeah. Me neither.
That wasn't something I did, you know. I went and did sprints or maybe quarter miles, you know.
Sure.
That was about it. But so that was my life growing up. So I know that transition really well. And I've been coaching that transition really well, but, you know, it doesn't apply to everybody. You know, what you and I went through to prepare is not the same thing as like the previous 2 athletes that we just discussed needs to do, because I really kind of dropped my weights for about a year and just transitioned. And I did triathlon training and I did a lot of calisthenics. I played around with some weights still just because I was missing it, but it was not a real program, you know, per se. I was on a cardio path. And it took a good year just to be able to, you know, run 1.5 miles fast and to be able to run multiple 1.5 miles, you know, at a good solid pace, you know, 5 miles in, you know, 7-minute mile pace or something like that. So anyway, what's your story?
Yeah. In the sense of being optimal, I was pretty fortunate because I was a strength coach at Troy University at the time. So having that background and working with athletes and kind of seeing what worked for them. Because I think as a young strength coach, you always tend to teach what works for me, right, at the time, a young strength coach. But I had some really good mentors, and I was seeing a lot of other sport coaches, especially the track and field at the university. And I started talking to them, and they helped talk me through. Also, like I said, initially I started trying to have them do what I would do. And I was like, this isn't working for a javelin thrower or 400 meter or whatever, golfer even, right? So through trial and error as a coach, I started going, well, this is what I'm going to have to do. And then like one of those things that I would encourage people to do, especially if you're a heavier guy and you find your piece in the weight room, do that.
Yep.
Make sure on the back end of your weight training that you go do, like for me, I had a stadium, a whole football stadium. You know, it's a 50,000 seaters football stadium to run up and down.
Nice.
I had a golf course on university. I ran just like did track work. I would plan my day because I was a strength coach and graduate assistant too. I would go to the coach and go, hey, can I run with your 800 meter guys? Can I do that program for the day? Or I'd say, hey, what is our program today? Because I had to work late and I'd go to the track. And so just like you, I knew that I couldn't. My fear is that I wouldn't be able to carry my body weight at buds.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm just going to have to get as strong as I can while staying moderately heavy. That's because I was comfortable at about 190 or so, I thought I would be. I started at 230 and then just started over that year, just started shedding a little bit of mass. And by that time, I certainly wasn't running marathons at that point.
Yeah, me either.
But I was able to run my 3 and 4s pretty quickly. And thing too is I maintained the majority of my strength proportionate to my body weight. And I knew that would be advantageous to me.
Yes.
And so it's kind of a chess match. I got the buds and I knew that I was going to really be challenged in the runs. And I was at first. That's what the nature of it. But I knew that log PT and the O course, all sort of things that I needed to show my strengths there. So I didn't really put a big spotlight on me when I was running, when I was working hard for the run.
Yeah. Yeah, I was the exact same way. I had to put out to be in that 50 percentile of the class for running.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my gut check. You know, every day we ran or every 4-mile timed run was a gut check, you know, and it just wasn't my best thing to do. You know, I was a good swimmer. I was in the top 2 or 3 swim pairs every time. O course times were solid, top 5 in the class. PT scores were above average.
Yep.
What's that? Is that you guys?
We're right next to Oceana, the jet base.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
Right about noon they start doing touch and goes usually.
That's cool. You got your own little Blue Angel
my
show.
Soundtrack of freedom, for sure.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, no, and I think that I'm very careful, try to be about what I say. I will say that from my buds class, from what I can recollect, those that were really, really like the best runner in my buds class didn't last past the first Friday. He, like I said, he was so good at running. The instructors made him run backwards. Like he was world class, like triathlete.
Yeah.
And but the guy, we had a guy that ended up quitting the second week or so. He did 96 pull-ups, legitimate, like 96 pull-ups, like an absolute outlier in upper body strength. But he couldn't run at all. Like he was just, and he wasn't like a huge guy. He was probably 210 pounds, but he just was just a genetic upper body freak, right? So when I start looking at the guys that graduated my buds class, proficient runners, but the majority of the guys we were strong, like pull-ups for days, push-ups for days.
Yeah.
But a lot of that too was a direct result of what buds makes a person become as well.
True.
So just, I guess, we need to be well-rounded. Be a decathlete. That's what I say. I want my guys to be able to exhibit all, be proficient in everything. Try to be really good at a couple things.
Yes.
And when you can really be good at those things, do it. But don't let it become a deficiency for others.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great way to look at it too, because it's one thing we haven't really talked about is attitude. We're talking about training and attitude and mindset, but if you can go into a day at Buds and get in your mind, I am going to win that swim today.
Yep.
Or I'm going to win that run today, or I'm not going to be, I'm going to be in the top 5 of the run or whatever. I'm going to win the O course today. If you can go in there thinking about competing with yourself, the rest of your class, you never think about quitting.
Right.
It's not, quitting is not even a thought in your head. I mean, you're ready to just roll. I mean, and where I got that idea from is I remember my first and only marathon that I ever ran.
Yeah.
Right? I did one. I said, I'm not doing that again. That was awful. But I was just trying to finish it. So I was in a mindset of minimum standards, right?
Yeah.
I was a minimum standard. I'm just trying to finish, right?
Yeah.
And then I see this guy from Kenya doing his dynamic stretches and stretching and hydrating and everything. And I'm like, he's in a different mindset than I am right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That guy is trying to drop a minute off his best time, and I'm just trying to finish this thing. So whose mindset has the greater chance of quitting? So I've been telling people this for years. I said, you got to get in a competitor mindset when you're at Buds, not a minimum standard mindset, not a barely pass mindset. You got to try to put out and win something every day.
Yeah.
And that's a mindset I think that I learned probably about 6 months before Buds. And it really helped me to make, even Sundays, you used to, like when you're in school, Sundays sucked because you knew you had Monday to go to school.
For sure.
Whereas I was fired up on Sunday because I had a Monday event, that I was ready to roll on Monday, at Buds. And it's the first time I ever liked Sundays, in my life. I
tend to tell people, because I get asked an awful lot, certainly you do as well, about, hey, what's, aside from the physical, how do I prepare myself mentally? And I tell people, I mean this very, very directly. If you are going to Buds to try, don't bother.
Yeah.
If you are going there to do something, do it. Like it's in my way. And it's not a sense of, it's not egotistical. It's like Buds is not a selection course initially. It's a deselection course.
Right.
And my Buds class was 188. We graduated original 22, a total of 44. 22 guys got rolled in over the course of that 27 weeks. And I will say, and I remember actually when I graduated in November, and then we had to be at jump school January 3rd. So we had a good bit of time. So all of us kind of went back to our families over Christmas. We all convened in Columbus, Georgia for jump school. And all of us were like, man, all of our friends and family was like, what was it like? What did it take? And we started kind of just reminiscing, going, well, none of us approached it as a voluntary opportunity. Like, none of us showed up going, man, I'm really going to give it my best. Like, at no point did I go, man, this is something I'd really like to try. It's horrible. Yeah. But I knew that I had to. Like, really short story, my father boxed in the Army and was quite good at it. So my dad drove for 37 years, semi, and he frequented the same places over and over and over in the Midwest. And he was to know people just kind of by name, but he just in passing, hey, how you doing, Bob or Joe or whatever. And so my mom tells me, I call her right before they secured for Hell Week, and she's like, yeah, I can hear my dad laughing in the next room, my parents' house. He's laughing because my mom starts telling the story. She's like, yeah, your dad was at a truck stop just outside Chicago delivering goods. And he was reminiscing with the guys, like, hey, what's your son up to? He's like, yeah, he's in the Navy. He's about to go into Hell Week this week. And my dad's, the guy's like, yeah, no one makes that. Your son will quit. And my dad looked at him. He goes, excuse me? He goes, the guy goes, no one makes that. Your son will just quit for sure. And my dad said a couple four-letter words and goes, my son, Nichols don't quit. And he punched the dude. So my mom's laughing. My dad's laughing. And, like, I literally remember in Buds going, in Hell Week, hearing my dad going, this is like, it's a 6-day event for me. There's no way that I could possibly ever quit this. Like, it made me laugh. I was like,
yeah. You know what? I just be honest with you. There was no quitting was not a thought. I just prayed I wouldn't get hurt.
Yes.
You know,
and you find out right away, though, in my opinion, like, I was worried about my feet. My feet were so beat up from college baseball. Yeah. Really bad. And my mom has bunions and hammer toes and all that stuff, and I got it hereditarily, and I was like, man, well, as soon as I got the baseball spikes off, my feet felt better. But my fear was that, am I gonna, and that's everyone's fear, just know that going in. But the reason why you and I and so many people, even the guys that got stress fractures, were able to do that is because they prepared themselves to take on that volume of work.
Yes.
And when it was time to sleep and relax and rest in San Diego, they did. The guys that broke were out there screwing around the weekends and not taking care of their body.
Yeah.
It's a whole other topic conversation, but it's not happenstance anymore. Now, certain things can happen and good guys can get hurt and it happens, but understand that if you're a good guy, a good person, and you're really putting out, the instructors see that. They're not going to get rid of you.
Right. Right.
So just get that off the table. But yeah, I felt the same way. I was afraid. But then after a while, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm really taking care of myself. I'm icing my feet at nights and eating as much as I can and going to bed at 8:30. Yeah. It meant a lot to me. I remember too, is we had a room inspection before we classed up, and we were supposed to have like our dress whites, dress blues, all those sort of things. And I got out of boot camp. I lost a ton of weight, and I had a sea bag full of stuff that didn't fit me. I remember checked into Buds. I pulled out my pea coat, which I still own. I still have, and I hung it up in my locker. And I took the whole sea bag and I threw it in the dumpster. So I remember the very first room inspection, like, hey, Nichols, like, where is your blues, your whites, and everything? And I threw them in the dumpster, and he goes, you got to be shitting me. Like, why the F would you do that? And I go, well, I'm not going back to the fleet. I'm not going to the fleet. And I was like, I remember his neighbor. He looks at me and goes, bold move, son. And that was it. Like, that was that simple for me. I just threw my stuff away. I don't know if I can ever need it.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Call it arrogance, but I just really, my point is that kind of we talked about before. Be patient for you young ones. They're 18, 19. You know, if that year or two allows you to mature a little bit and take on that mindset, do it. It's the program is waiting for you to succeed. It's not waiting for you there to spit you out.
Right. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, the mindset is critical. No matter what body type you are. You know, I mean, that's probably the common denominator between everybody who makes it. It's, you know, everybody who makes it endured a high volume of work. They were able to do that. And something I pass on to my guys too, when they're focusing on getting to the training, let's say they got their ship date 6 months out, you know, I make sure that here's what you need to do. You come work out with me. We're working out from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. You know, don't go home, eat, and take a 2-hour nap. You know, I mean, that's great if you need the rest, you know, but, you know, go do something else. I mean, you don't have to work out, but, you know, some of the best success stories we've ever had were guys that would work out with us, then go work a full day of landscaping, right, or construction,
Right.
and then come back at night, do a cool down swim, and go to sleep. They're used to that full day of activity.
For sure.
I tell people all the time, there's no 30-minute gym workout that is going to prepare you for a day of SEAL training.
No.
So you got to put in your time doing all events.
Yeah, we have a couple active duty guys. That's like Oceana is only 300 meters away, the big air base here. And one of the guys, he's just about to go on night shift, 12-hour night shift with the squadrons here. And he was really worried about it. I go, listen, if you're working from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., we train here at 4 p.m. This is what your day should look like, in my opinion. It's all these things, exactly what you're saying. It's routine, right? Create a predictable, concise routine that's reproducible, right? That's efficient, because that's really what we're talking about here. He's going to go to his 6 p.m. work. I said, you're going to work from 6 to 6. Your plan should be make sure you eat somewhere in between there, obviously. A good meal.
Sure.
Don't give you time, active duty, right? You get off, your plan should be eat. Then your plan should be shower and bed. Then your plan should be wake up and eat, right? Get in here and train, not an empty stomach. Train, keep that routine, because that's a big surprise for a lot of people is that, I think it is that BUD/S is not. Now, you're not always on 24 hours a day, but for many people, even come from college, I laugh at people at college that can't manage their time, because there's 3 hours of your day that might be expected of you to be in class, right? If you're an athlete, a little bit more time, but you're going to be working 12 to 14-hour days pretty regularly at BUD/S, and sometimes more. Just to your point, get acclimated to having a concise, busy schedule.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's nothing wrong with working out hard, resting, but if you really need it, but the goal is you need to eventually start preparing your body for that volume of work. And you don't want to do it too soon or too late, because then you're just going to be overtrained and tired when you get to boot camp, and, you can start falling apart. So, like I said, whenever we talk about a year to 2 years of preparation to get through the training, I'm not kidding. It really does take a good year, sometimes 2, depending on the individual, to be thoroughly prepared for what they're trying to endure, whether it's Army Special Forces or SWAT teams or whatever. There's some specifics that you need to be ready to do and be able to work long, hard days that, you gotta almost emulate that throughout your training program as well.
Yes. Yeah. There's going to be outliers. Some guys that didn't prepare at all and make it through. There's going to be guys that over-prepared and overtrained and still suffered through.
Yeah.
But on the mentality side, you're going to find the vast majority of those individuals in your BUD/S classes or Green Beret SF or beyond that, Air Force PJ, even in SWAT courses and whatever. Those people are dead serious about being there.
Yeah.
They take it very seriously. They are very, very meticulous about their preparation, the recovery, and all those sort of things. When you go to BUD/S, again, there's going to be outliers, but I will tell you that what I suggest to everyone, training is a big block of it. Mental preparation is a kind of a block, but that really just goes into creating a plan, right? You got to take it seriously. This is not something that I would suggest anybody does half-heartedly. It will chew you up and disappoint you.
Yeah. And
anything that's this serious, you owe it to the program, the people, the community, and even to yourself to take it that seriously.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great way to, I think that's a great way to end this. This has been a really good discussion. Before we do end it, though, is there anybody else that we missed? We got the runner, we got the swimmer, we got the power lifter. What other types of fitness foundations or powerlifting football player types of fitness foundation? Now, let's talk about the guys who do really well. How about that stereotype? The guys that typically do well that I've seen are wrestlers who can swim, like yourself.
Yep.
Lacrosse players usually do really well. Water polo they do real well too.
Yeah. Yeah, I see like there's a demographic I think that does really well, and it's people from above the Mason-Dixon. Now again, there's plenty of people from Louisiana, Texas, and those sort of things. These guys that come off these farms in South Dakota that are just used to being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Just working hard, right? Growing up on a dairy farm in South Dakota is not easy in January.
No.
You see these guys are just like, really? Like, this is – now, they'll struggle with some things like we all do, but there is something to be said about – now, I'll be very clear. People from Florida, South Florida, have just as much as an opportunity and a chance to succeed. But there is something to be said about that. Like I said, I think of like maybe me. I grew up in eastern Iowa, and first job at 12 years old, I worked on a dairy farm freezing my ass off. I wrestled and swam all year. Yeah. Baseball. I had great parents too. I don't know. I think Stanford tried to do a study on this, and they were kind of like, it was like there was a vast majority of water polo and wrestlers did better, but it all depends.
Yes, absolutely. It does depend on, like I said, your fitness foundation, your history, your attitude.
Yeah. That's the big one. Like we were saying, like if someone goes in really competent physically, attitude is everything, because there's plenty of people that have shown up to buds with those real physical tools.
Or, how about just the opposite? Guys that shown up to buds with no physical tools whatsoever, a little bit pudgy, not a lot of definition anywhere. Or we had this one kid, so skinny, he's probably 135 pounds, and he was about 5'10", 5'11". I mean, he could run well, and he froze his ass off every day. I mean, he just no body fat on him whatsoever. But he made it, and we had another kid in the class that I remember seeing him on day one. I'm like, whew, good luck,
There's always a couple.
Yeah.
There was a guy in my buds class that ended up being, well, I'm certainly not going to name names, but he was on the Bin Laden raid. So when he showed up at buds, he was in my buds, great dude. He lived in the trunk of a car until he was 12. Couldn't read or write. His mother was a vagrant, traveled the Midwest. He'd sleep in a trunk until he was 12. His aunt scooped him up when he was 12. Went to school for the very first time, running water, a bed, everything, for the first time when he was 12. And he crushed it.
Yeah.
East Texas in a trailer park, man. That's where he grew up. Who knew?
That's
amazing.
He was
tough as woodpecker lips. Yeah. And a good person. That's really what it comes down to. So you don't know. But what you do know right away, and this is the one piece of advice I tell people, and then I'll shut up, is that it'll make sense when you get there. Surround yourself with good people and be good. Like, be a part of that group. Yeah. Surround yourself with a bunch of good people and go, that guy's a good person. He's hard. Like, I want to be with a group, because at the end of the day, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take you and a bunch of guys to get through the program. The program is not individualized. Surround yourself with good people.
Yeah. You know what? There's a little saying lately I've heard that, remember when, we were under the boat, that really made a team. And you might have had one guy, that wasn't doing well under the boat, and you either tried to help him out or, eventually it started getting negative if he was, complete bag. Yep. But, it seems like a lot of times people have a hard time being a good team player under the boat. And that's when you really have to dig in and be a good team player, because, whether you are ducking your head or you're going to get called out for it now.
For sure.
I mean, when I was in, someone ducked their head, they can get dropped from the training now. I mean, it's fail to perform.
Yes.
You can get a fail to perform, getting kicked out from ducking your head under the boat while your classmates are sitting there sucking it up for you.
For sure.
So
and that's the thing, is the people that are making those decisions there, they hold the keys to the city. Yeah. The SEALs that are active duty and some of the civilians that are running buds now, they're not about to let somebody, and I'm so pleased and proud of it, that those people, those SEALs are still holding the keys going, I'm not letting you into my community if you cannot show us that you are an ethical person.
Yeah.
And that's important. And that's what one of the unique things about our military that makes our military great is it's the people, and it's the people willing to do things that are difficult, right?
Yeah.
With a team. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I tell people all the time, you know, a 16-year-old kid emails me, say, what can I do to prepare for buds? I said, well, first of all, be a good student, go play some sports, be a good team player, learn how to be a good team player. And that's it. You know, that's all you need to do right now at 16 years old to prepare for buds is go work out, play sports, be a good team player, because those skills right there are going to build your foundation. So when you actually get specific and start training for buds, you have the foundation to really ramp it up to a notch that's going to be competitive for you.
You've got to be willing and accepting of criticism.
Oh yeah.
You have to. Yeah. And I'm not going to say millennial this or Generation X, or because it doesn't matter.
No.
If you are unable to take, like, I'm talking harsh criticism, things that make you really look in and go, man, should I even be here, kind of thing, is you are going to get it.
Yeah, every day.
You're going to get it every day.
Every day.
You're going to get it the day before you graduate buds. Someone's going to come up to you that didn't like you. The buds are trying to go, hey, listen, I remember second phase. And if I ever work with you in the teams, you bet your ass I'm not going to forget that. Whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, be able to handle negative feedback.
For sure.
You gotta be mature enough to handle negative feedback. And I think a lot of the younger kids are not. Or, you know, this is where you see a lot of world-class level, high-level athletes, you know, that have won everything all their life, never failed, and they get there, and that negative feedback is the straw that breaks the camel's back. Even though physically they could have done everything at that course, that negative feedback, constant negative feedback it just broke them.
Yep, agreed, totally.
Yeah. So, well, this has been fun.
Yeah, we're getting in there. We're getting there deep. It's not often that you reminisce about this from the point of trying to help somebody. Like, a lot of times it's from a point of like trying to convince somebody they should or shouldn't do it, maybe, or is this for them?
Yeah.
There's no secret, but like it's nice to be passionate about something. I'm saying, like, from a young person going into buds, like I love the community. I remember how excited I was. Like, I was nervous and scared and all those sort of things. I really felt like I was making the right decision. I believed it.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of guys, it's a calling. I remember the CO is now retired, Captain Rick Smethers. He spoke to us in Master Chief Crampton the very first day. He's like, out of all of you that are sitting here, he goes, there, 30% of you or a little bit less, they're SEALs here. 30% of your SEALs. It's our job to find you.
Nice.
That's it. He's just like, it's no disrespect or not that you're not good people. He's like, the people that make it through this course, the ones that really want to be here. Not like, oh, I want to buy this new pair of shoes, and a week later, like, man, I just wish I hadn't bought that pair of shoes. I go, oh, it sounds pretty cool. Like, being a SEAL sounds pretty. You really got to want to be there, and it's okay to take your time to get there. Take your time.
And it really is a calling. You nailed it right on the head. I mean, it is a calling. In fact, I think all the tactical professions are a calling. It's not something that you do because you can't do something else.
For sure.
If you can't go get it.
It's not a last resort option for work.
No. I mean, even regular military too. Unfortunately, a lot of people do that and they have a miserable time for their 4 years in the military. Whereas if you really want to go do it, you'll find a way to do it. I say all the time, the motivated find the teams.
Yes.
And they will do whatever they can to get there.
For sure.
I remember probably one of your teammates, one of my old teammates too, was a kid baled hay in South Carolina, grew up in South Carolina, never worked out, 230 pounds, rock solid, 30 pull-ups, 18-minute 3-mile runs. I mean, just an absolute animal, and he, once again, like you said, was used to being uncomfortable. If you ever baled hay in the South, it sucks. You got to wear clothes all day. because
Yep.
it gets all itchy on you, and then you get itchy anyway. It's kind of like those damn sand pit or the sawdust pits at jump school. Remember those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I went in August with my
It's
whole
never
buds
good. Yeah.
It was not
Never
fun.
good.
So anyway, got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So
For sure.
all right, Jeff. Well, thanks so much again. This is really good. Everybody, this is Jeff Nichols. Check out his YouTube channel. He's got social media links. I'll put them all in the description for you. And ask us questions. We're here to help. That's really what we both are passionate about, and happy to share with you what we know.
All right, we'll do this again for sure.
All right.
The next one we're doing.
Next one we'll do post buds. After you're kind of beat up from buds, what happens next? And they have a great program now. They used to not have this program, so
Right.
They have a great post program. SQT, they start really ramping up, building the strength back and rebuilding the athlete. So it's a really good way to differentiate the two methods, because getting to and through the training is completely different than active duty training.
Sure.
And we'll discuss that in the next topic.
Yep. Awesome.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Jeff.